There was a graduation in Wisconsin. And as this young woman is about to cross the stage, her racist dad literally storms the stage and physically removes the black superintendent from the stage. Watch this.
Elise Kathleen Eddy. Oh.
You're not.
Excuse me.
That's my dog.
Where's Brendan?
Man, you better get up off me, man. Get away from me, bro.
Hey, no. Hey, you need to get. Hey. Get off. You gotta go. Get off. Hey, right now.
I'm in Baraboo, Wisconsin at Baraboo High School, where a white male rushed the stage of a graduation, what he called trying to protest the superintendent. But you bullying, and this is not right, man. This is the racial disparity, how y'all did the black superintendent, all up on him, assaulted him. No one helped him. No one prevented this from happening, you know. And we here, we in Baraboo to let, you know, Dr. Briggs, superintendent, know we here to support him. We encourage him to stay strong, and he got the support. This was wrong, and this is a hate crime, you know. This is 2024. Racism is still going on. What is going on, America?
All right, guys, so we got to talk about this story that went viral out of Baraboo, Wisconsin, because the race hustlers of America were quick to jump to accusations of racism because a white dad by the name of Matthew Eddy decided to rush on stage to push a black superintendent before he was able to shake his daughter's hand during a graduation ceremony. Now, again, the race hustlers, instead of doing some critical thinking and saying, hey, you know what? Maybe there's some reason why this dad, again, who happens to be white, pushed this black superintendent. There's a lot of reasons or possible reasons that this can happen outside of just racism. But no, that didn't stop them from pulling the race card and saying, well, this happened because of racism. He didn't want his daughter to shake a black man's hand, right? Which, again, is just ridiculous to think about, considering how I'm pretty sure his daughter probably interacts with quite a few black people on a daily basis. I'm pretty sure it's not the first or the last time that his daughter will shake a black person's hand. And I'm not entirely sure why, if it's just solely motivated by racism, this guy would get up and to act the way that he acted purely out of not wanting his daughter to shake a black man's hand. It doesn't really make sense to me. It never made sense from the beginning. And I kind of waited to see what more would come out of this story before making a video about it, because when you have stories that seem too good to be true, most certainly it always is, right? It's too good to be true. And this happens most often when it comes to these stories about race, okay? Just like I did the story about the guy that got caught drunk driving, and the video came out of the police officer seemingly planting evidence in this guy's car to make it look like he was drinking and driving. Now, come to find out, she actually was not planting evidence. She was just pouring alcohol out because of department policy, or what she thought was department policy. But that didn't stop the race hustlers of America from essentially smearing this officer as a racist, okay, because she's a white woman and she happened to arrest a black man, which is something that you can't do in 2024 unless you're racist, okay? If black people get punished for crimes, including drinking and driving, which is dangerous, you could actually kill somebody doing that. Again, that is a bad thing. Black people should just be allowed to do whatever they want without consequence, okay? But again, this white man, right, pushes this black superintendent, and the race hustlers of America want the book thrown at this guy, right? They want to ruin his life because he made a bad decision, which, I mean, I'm not saying he shouldn't be punished for it because it was inappropriate, but my point is that the accusations of racism are uncalled for. We cannot have a society where anytime there's a microaggression between a white person and a black person, and the white person is the aggressor, we're crying racism. Well, he did it because he was racist, okay? We can't do that, because we all know that if the racial roles were reversed here, that all the race hustlers would be immediately defending the black aggressor and saying, oh, well, it's justified, right? For X, Y, and Z reason. And they would never say that, well, it happened because the black person was racist towards the white person. Like, for example, last year, right around this time, you guys remember the black college student that snatched the mic from the white lady because the white lady didn't let her say her whole name and to speak at graduation? Yeah. The race hustlers weren't crying racism over this.
Okay, go. Let go. You didn't let me get my moment, so I want to say my name is Khadija Diallo, and I'm graduating today. I don't like how you snatched the mic out of my hand, so today is going to be all about me.
Oh, drops the mic.
But this is the world that the woke revolutionaries want, a world where white people cannot be aggressive towards black people without being racist, okay? You cannot legitimately be mad at a black person for anything unless you want to be called a racist. So, again, this father here, there is video that has come out showing that after this incident, he spoke with the police and he told the police his motivations for why he went on stage to stop this superintendent from shaking his daughter's hand. And it's because of a prior incident that involved the school district and his daughter, and he didn't like the way that it was handled. Take a look.
You can't hop up on the stage right in front of graduation. Like, you obviously knew it was going to happen. Oh, yeah, for sure. So, I mean, it was planned. Yeah. I walked out when he was graduating to speak. I get that, but you obviously knew your daughter was going to go on stage. She's going to interact with him. I don't want him to be able to shake her hand because he doesn't deserve it from her and all the she went through in this district. I'm not aware of allegations of Dr. Briggs doing anything to your daughter specifically. No, it wasn't him specifically. Okay. She was expelled for doing the same thing that was done to her, and nothing happened to the previous people, and we didn't have the meeting in there with him, the school board. So an expulsion, you mean? Yeah. And he rolled his eyes when I brought up the fact that the same thing happened to her. And it is. Again, I didn't see what happened, so I don't know what the physicality of it was. Was it a body block? I mean, what were we talking about? Exactly. That's all it was. Was there pushing? Was there shoving? Not telling me, you guys put his hands on me. I didn't come up to him like, knock him out or push him down or...
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Now, allegedly, the incident that the father is upset with was a case of bullying against his daughter. He feels like it wasn't handled properly by the school district, and he took his anger out on the superintendent, who I guess you could say is in charge of the district, right? He didn't like the way it was handled, and he took it out at graduation. Again, not trying to justify it. It was not right for him to do that. He was obviously in the wrong. But again, my point is that I don't see where the racism is coming into play here, okay? Any accusations of racism or that this was racist, you're reading into it, right? You're throwing your own opinion in there, but it's not based off the facts. Because again, as I've showed you guys, we've seen stuff like this happen before where the black person is the aggressor, and these people never jump to, well, she did it because of racism. They just believe the aggressor, and they also go out there to try to justify something that is not justifiable. See, in this case right here, I'm not trying to justify unjustifiable behavior. I'm telling you it was unjustified. But again, the accusations of racism are also unjustified. So without further ado, let's actually listen to the superintendent's side of the story. This is Dr. Rainey Briggs.
Superintendent is speaking out 2.5 weeks after being pushed off the graduation stage by a parent in front of thousands of onlookers. It's a story in our community gaining international attention. Tonight, WMTV's Elizabeth Wattis sits down one-on-one with Superintendent Rainey Briggs and hears what he went through that night, what was running through his mind when that parent rushed the stage, and why some believe race had something to do with what happened.
As I was standing there, I think a student was coming. Peripherally, I see a white dashing shirt coming up the stairs.
That parent walking up the stairs is Baraboo's Matthew Eddy. At first, Dr. Briggs says he thought the man was a photographer taking pictures of a graduate. His confusion, though, quickly turned to panic.
But then he said, "You're not going to touch my effing daughter." And at that moment, I'm like, oh, crap.
In an interview moments later, Eddy tells officers he pushed Dr. Briggs to stop him from shaking his daughter's hand at her graduation. He says it's because he doesn't like him, and he's mad about how Dr. Briggs handled a disciplinary issue.
It just comes down to my daughter. And I'm not cool with him. I'm not cool with him shaking my daughter's hand after treating her the way he did.
I've seen the audio and video of his interview and investigation with the police. It still doesn't make sense to me. In that moment, I had no idea who he was. I can tell you I've never had a conversation with Mr. Eddy. There was an encounter 2 years ago that didn't result in any type of back and forth dialogue or anything like that with Matthew Eddy relating to his daughter.
Instead of associating Eddy with a particular graduate, Dr. Briggs said all he could think about was his safety and the safety of others.
Does he have a weapon? Does he have a knife, a gun, or some other object that could cause me harm in this moment? So there was that fear of, like, what's about to happen.
Since graduation night, there have been local and national outcries that Eddy pushed Dr. Briggs because he's black. Dr. Briggs says that's still a question that needs to be answered.
Matthew Eddy is the only person that could really tell us all. Was this really racially motivated? Was his anger motivated? But ultimately, he's the only person that can tell us.
Do you have any questions for him?
Why in that moment? Why, disrupt, this graduation of 250 kids at the pinnacle point in their lives? What would you do to fix this? How are you going to restore this particular moment, not only for me, not only for those students, your daughter? I mean, you think about those 3,000 people that was in the arena that night, and the issues and hurt that it's also cost the community.
I've reached out to Matthew Eddy for comment twice now. It's been a week and I haven't yet heard back. He now faces a misdemeanor charge of disorderly conduct. Dr. Briggs has also filed a restraining order against him.
Now, apparently, the father has actually reached out to the black superintendent that he pushed on stage with an apology. However, the black superintendent, despite, claiming that, well, I got questions, I want to know how you're going to fix this. How are you going to, make things right? And this dad went out of his way to try to make things right. And apparently, this superintendent didn't really want to hear it. He didn't accept the apology. And I actually really have an issue with this, even though I understand where he's coming from in the sense that, yes, you got pushed in that situation. I get it. You're mad. You're upset. He could have caused you harm. I 100% get it. But in my opinion, this is not how you deal with these types of people, okay? Because if this was racially motivated, the best way to deal with an incident like this, where, again, you have an angry dad, an angry man, who, again, could be racially motivated, but I don't see any evidence that is racially motivated. So to say that it's racially motivated, I think is irresponsible. But regardless, the best way for you to deal with it, if you actually want to change his heart and to get the hate and anger out of his heart, is actually to accept the apology, not only accept the apology, but also reach out and talk to him, right? Especially if he's trying to reach out to you, you pick up the phone and you talk. You talk it out and you let him know, listen, I'm not a bad person. You figure out why the dad was upset. You discuss the incident and you say, listen, this is how we can move forward with this on the right foot. What you don't do is that you just ignore the individual and say, I'm not going to accept your apology, because you're not going to get rid of the hate or change a person when you do not engage with them. Now, I know this from personal experience. This is not something that I'm making up, okay? Because a lot of these race hustlers will try to tell you how to deal with racism. They don't know how to deal with racism. They don't even know how to deal with adversity. The real way that you deal with racism is to actually talk to the individual that you feel has wronged you and to try to understand them. Because a lot of times, these interactions, they happen because individuals don't really know each other, right? So when you don't know somebody, and the only thing you know is that, well, I see them from a distance and they behave in ways that I might not like, that can create a situation where somebody has a perception of you that is wrong. And the best way to change that person's heart, if you feel like they've wronged you and they realize that, hey, yes, I've wronged this individual, is to accept the apology. If they're truly remorseful and they've reached out to you and say, hey, I want to apologize, I want to make this right, you should accept that apology and actually make things right. Because when you do that, that shows the person that, okay, my negative perception of this individual was wrong. Okay, let's just say the negative perception was based off race, right? What it will show is that, well, it's wrong for me to judge people based off their skin color. And I'm happy that this individual has forgiven me for my unjustified negative perception that led to me engaging in behavior that I should not have engaged in. Sometimes you have to teach people with kindness, right? I'm so serious about this. It actually works. It really does. But what doesn't work is when you direct the anger and vitriol back towards that person. That just creates more anger and vitriol. Dr. Rainey Briggs, who is the head of the Baraboo School District, stated that an apology from Matthew Eddy was essentially worthless. Quote, an apology just doesn't make things go away, Briggs explained to the Daily Mail on Tuesday. Quote, the outreach was really to indicate that he, Matthew, understands his mishap in terms of what he did, what he's caused. He's remorseful, Briggs continued. I took that as some form of apology, but that's not something I think at this time amounts to a solid apology from my perspective. Quote, I don't think an apology and I'm sorry makes this go away because there's a lot of harm that was caused. The damaging footage from the graduation shows Eddy pushing Briggs aside as his daughter was receiving her diploma, saying, I don't want her touching him. Yeah, so I think that this superintendent is handling this the wrong way, even though I get it. I understand he's upset. He was embarrassed by what happened. I'm pretty sure that father was embarrassed as well, too. But again, if you want to mend things and make things right, then I think that you not only should accept the apology, but if this guy is actually reaching out to you, calling you, trying to give you that apology and trying to make things right, then you should do that. And then you put your best foot forward. And I think that is honestly how you mend some of the divides in our society, is to stop fighting anger and hate with more anger and hate. At some point, we have to talk to each other and understand each other in order to move forward. But as long as we continue to just hate each other and just accuse each other of racism, even if it's not really racist, instead of, again, really trying to understand each other, then there will always be this type of racial divide and anger, hate, and vitriol, which, again, is what the race hustlers of America want, right? This is what they want. So, I mean, it is what it is. I'm just saying that, again, I think personally, this father obviously was wrong, okay, and he's been punished, justifiably so. His behavior was not justified, but I also think that this superintendent should have been more accepting of the apology. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.